Hi James, how
Okay.
are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, thank you. And it's such a pleasure to be able to speak to you. I'm a big fan of yours, and I know over the years you've played some really incredible characters. But to come on to, King of Kings and to be tasked with voicing a young Jesus, how did that feel? And does it bring a unique sense of pressure with it to tackle a role like this?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate it. I'm glad we could get together and talk here. And yeah, voicing many different characters in the film. Actually, so I've been on the project for about 6 years, and I originally, before they got all of the amazing, wonderful celebrity folks that they have in this, I did all of what we call scratch vocals, and so they'll usually bring a voice actor in to do the scratches to help with the animatics, to help with the production, and kind of flesh out the story. So I voiced Jesus and Dickens and all these characters in the original. And so I was hopeful that they might keep me on as some of the other characters. So, yes, thankfully, I get to play Matthew and Philip and Thomas. I get to play one of the scribes to King Herod and Melchior, one of the three wise men who brings frankincense to the baby Jesus. And then to play young Jesus, as well as several other characters in the film. But young Jesus is quite the pressure, especially because Oscar Isaac gives a stellar performance as Jesus as well. So, Oscar and I have worked in several projects together, including the Star Wars films and such. And so this was great to kind of go together here. And I would listen to his voice and say, how would he sound at the age of 12? And so hopefully I accomplished that.
Yeah, well, I suppose, of course, for you, you're no stranger to sharing a role, having shared Obi-Wan Kenobi with Ewan McGregor. So to do that with Oscar Isaac must have been quite a fun experience. As you said, you had that history together as well.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, there's another fun one. If you ever go to Disney World or Disneyland, and there's a thing called Rise of the Resistance, and I play Lieutenant Beck, a Mon Calamari who takes you on your journey. And Oscar has quite a prominent role in that as well, obviously. So we have a lot of dialogue together in that. So this is very different this time, but yeah, very cool nonetheless. There's a lot of Star Wars talent in The King of Kings, actually, from Jim Cummings to Vanessa Marshall to Forrest Whitaker and on and on. So and D. Bradley Baker as Willa the cat, which is pretty amazing. So yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal cast. And as you said before, you play three of Jesus's followers. So to have three characters like that and to, give them their own personalities and different voices, how challenging is that for you? And to almost figure out who they are in the course of this story too.
Yeah, it is a challenge, especially because you want them all to sound real and natural. That is always the biggest trick as a voice actor now. So a lot of my work is doubling celebrities or, doing animated characters from Fred Flintstone, Yabba Dabba Doo, to Johnny Test. And, those are all very cartoony. So how do you then take, Matthew? And so I did Matthew, and Matthew was, kind of right in this vein. And a little Matthew McConaughey in there, or Philip was pretty much as close to my regular voice as possible. I'll always try to have one of them grounded in just me, and then I'll go for variations away from that. And then Thomas, who of course is, well, he's a bit of a doubter, so I'll take a little, Michael J. Fox and maybe a little Woody Allen and a little Paul Giamatti and kind of combine them into one, and you get doubting Thomas there. But a lot of fun to kind of play that vocal roulette that I get to do whenever I come up with a new voice. So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's amazing to hear you, jump in and out of the voices there. And I'd love to know for you as an actor to be in the recording booth and to take on multiple roles like this. What do you enjoy about getting to do that and to tell stories as epic as this one using your voice in such an incredible way as we've just seen?
Oh, well, bless you. Yeah, it is. Since I was 4 years old, I wanted to be a voice actor. So any chances I get to perform and kind of do those tricks, jump through the hoops of vocal acrobatics, as we call it. I have a one-man stage show I do called Talking to Myself, and a podcast of the same name where I do that on a regular basis because I love the fun of being these characters. But when you're the shortest kid in your class every single year, and you're 5'4" as an adult and 120 pounds soaking wet, you've got to learn to entertain people in new ways. And my voice was always that way. I've always been blessed with the ability to change it and manipulate it in ways. So I have great fun getting to do that and be all these different characters. It's really a dream come true for me.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. And as you said, you've been part of King of Kings for a long time. Obviously, you've followed this film. It sounds like almost from the beginning to go through all those stages early on. But when the project first came your way, I know it's a while back now. What was it that really drew you to this story beyond the fact it is this obviously epic biblical story, biblical tale?
Yeah, well, being a Christian myself, I've been a Christian for the last 30 plus years, and I've always been very open about my faith as a performer in the secular world. I've just always talked about it in my podcasts or in interviews or such. I've never hid from my faith. So having an opportunity to combine my faith and then my acting world into one place, and I've had a lot of those opportunities lately, which has been very cool. But this film was really one of the catalysts for that, and I think it's awesome to get to be able to combine my worlds that way, and to walk a red carpet or to do press like this and talk about my faith in Jesus is pretty cool as a voice actor.
It must be great. We live in a very divided world at the moment, unfortunately, but to
Yeah.
be part of a project like this, which I think is very universal with its messages and its story, that must be a real pleasure as an actor as well.
I think you couldn't be more spot on with that. Yeah, I think that that's the coolest part about this story is, as I've been saying, I think it's a very palatable way of sharing the gospels with people, whether you believe or not in this. Uh, Going through the story of Charles Dickens, he wrote a book called The Life of Our Lord for his children back in 1846. It came out in 1934. It was published after his death, 64 years after he passed away. I don't think he ever could have imagined that it was something that would be shared with the world like this. He shared it for his children in a way to teach them about the Gospels. But now we have it as a wonderful vehicle of telling the story of Jesus in a way that just kind of introduces the story. This doesn't force anything down anybody's throat. It just says, here's what we believe. And have at it. Hopefully, it's an entertaining story to you as well, a compelling story, and performed by some amazing actors. So yeah, that's the cool part of it.
Yeah, I got to speak to Dee yesterday actually, and I said
Oh,
about Angel.
awesome.
Yeah, and I've seen at Angel Studios. I've covered a couple of their films now, and I think all of them, you summed them up just perfectly, actually. But they all spread a very positive message, and I know they're big on prioritizing the theatrical experience and paying that forward. So must be cool as well from almost a business perspective, away from the creative, to work with a studio like that has such great priorities. I think with how Hollywood has changed so much in recent years.
It certainly has. Yeah. The Guild is a great way of getting an audience to say whether or not they're interested in something. And I think that they've really tapped into something there. I've been very blessed to be a part of several different projects, from The King of Kings to Gabriel and the Guardians, which is an animated anime style show with my other co-star in Star Wars, Matt Lanter, as well as Johnny Young Bosch and Christina V and Christina Malizia. Vanessa Marshall's in that one as well. And then another one by Butch Hartman called The Garden, which is coming out very soon. Butch Hartman, of course, created Fairly Odd Parents, and Danny Phantom, just to name a few. And I think it's because people are seeing that Angel has this ability to bring in the faith aspect, but also a top quality storytelling and bringing in some great talent as well. So it's very exciting to see that happen. Yeah. And, as a filmmaker myself, I wrote and directed a movie called Hidden Blessings that I did completely on my own and put it out this last year. I know how hard it is to kind of get distribution and get it out there. And so it's wonderful that Angel is a platform for people to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just while I've got you, James, I've got to bring up Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's such a fantastic, iconic role. But do you think we might see more of you as that character down the line? I know they're very secretive with these things, but do you feel you have more stories to tell with him at this point?
Well, the force is strong with you, my friend. I don't know. You never know how Obi-Wan will appear again. I'm very blessed to be a part of a lot of the things from like Star Wars
Yeah.
Lego Star Wars, I should say, where Obi-Wan has popped up recently and things, and you never know, he may pop up again at some point. And so I would hope so. I love the stories that they've been telling with everything from the Tales of the Jedi and such. And Obi-Wan had a little cameo appearance in that, and he pops up in video games from time to time. But it's been 23 years that I've been
Wow.
blessed to voice Obi-Wan Kenobi in one way or another and share that role with Ewan McGregor and Sir Alec Guinness, of course. So I get to play old Ben and young Ben at many different ways and different times throughout the years. And I always get excited when I see, I would say the phone ring, although now it's usually a text or an email from the agent saying you get to play Obi-Wan again. So hopefully there'll be some more opportunities for that. But I certainly am involved in the world of Star Wars. Once you're involved, you kind of never stop. But hosting events like Star Wars Celebration for many years and Star Wars weekends at Disney World, and then of course, like I say, being involved at Rise of the Resistance and such too, and getting to play that character as well as Jedi Master Plo Koon as well. So
Course, yeah.
very cool stuff in the world of Star Wars. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's an incredible legacy that franchise has. And another favorite of mine, Ratchet and Clank. I'm really hoping we get to see you come back to that one because that last game was phenomenal on the PlayStation 5. I feel like there's so much more they could do with that series.
Man, I couldn't agree with you more on that. And that was, I think it's been 21 plus years I've been voicing Ratchet
Oh,
and 20 games and various games. And we had a movie, we had a TV pilot, but the last game, Rift Apart, was fantastic. And it's amazing it was done now. Where's the time gone? It was like 3 or 4 years ago now. So I'm really hopeful that we get another Ratchet and Clank game soon. I was just at Insomniac Games celebrating 30 years. They had their 30-year anniversary. They brought us all out. And of course, Yuri Lowenthal, who's wonderful as Spider-Man, and all of us came together, and David Kay as Ratchet. And we celebrated with all of the Insomniac folks. And we kept trying to get to them. So what do you think? But they kept their mouths shut. But I am hopeful, especially with the way the last game ended, that we will get another Ratchet and Clank at some point. And hopefully they would call David and I in to do the voices still.
oh yeah, well they better. I think there'll be a huge, huge uprising if they don't. But
That's right. I can still do the voice. Come on.
but to go back to this one, you listed off the characters you play in this film before. And when you are in the recording booth, do you get to see those character designs, some early animation to help you get a feel, or at this point in your career, can you kind of just tap into who they are with what you have in the script?
That's a great question, and it is a little of both.
Hmm.
So in the initial things, when you first get the script, a lot of times even preliminary drawings aren't really done. However, there's a very dramatic, beautifully cinematic scene in this where Jesus walks on the water and calls Peter out of the boat. And that scene they had animated as a kind of a template to show investors, possible investors and such. So 6 years ago, when I had come on to the project, they showed me that scene. So I had a sense of the animation style, but not necessarily exactly how everyone was going to finish and look. So then we recorded the entire thing. And then you come back throughout the years and you do more as the animation starts to develop. And sometimes the voices change a little here and there. And it certainly was the case with this in voicing like young Jesus and such, in that we did that in what we call ADR or looping, kind of after the animation is done, you go back in and redub yourself over again to kind of fine tune the voice and make sure it matches everything else in the tone of the film.
Amazing. And I think I'm sure I might not be the only one to bring this up today, but of course, there are those very famous Obi-Wan Kenobi Jesus memes where, people take a picture of Obi-Wan into their grandparents' house. I think it's all in good fun, but it's a really popular thing that seems to pop up from time again. How does it feel to now you've played both those characters? You've made that connection even stronger, I think.
Wow, I hadn't thought of it that way, but you're right. Yeah, a lot of people do call Obi-Wan Space Jesus. Uh, and as a Christian, I always go, I don't know if I should be smiling at that, but I do think that the character of Obi-Wan is he's a true believer, and that's what I love about him. I've always kind of loved that, and people have always asked me, and it's been a great way for me to bring my faith in because they go like, "What do you love about Obi-Wan?" I say, "Well, he's a true believer. He holds the Jedi code, and I'm a true believer of the Christian faith, and I try to hold my Christian code." And so my playing Obi-Wan through the years has always kind of been that linear thing for me of drawing that parallel. And so I love that you brought that together there. I appreciate that, man. That's funny.
Oh, well, James, well, thank you so much for your time. As I said, I'm a huge, huge fan of so much of your work and so many of the characters you've played, and it was great to see you and hear you in this one. So thank you again, because yeah, what a pleasure.
Bless you, my friend. Thank you. It's a real honor to get to talk to you. I appreciate it.
You have a great day and congrats on the film. Thank you so much.
Thank you.